The luxury goods industry has been growing despite the big economic crisis and financial crisis we are in. The big driver of this growth have been emerging markets, have been consuming more and more of these goods, and they're buying them both there, in China for instance, and in Europe. Almost 50% of the sales in the industry in Italy or France, and probably 70% of the sales in Spain, come from buyers traveling through Europe. This has helped this industry, which is a global leader in Europe and in the world, to survive the crisis, to thrive in the crisis. Some estimates which I've seen say that the industry could create almost 500,000 jobs in Europe over the next 10 years.
European luxury goods brands are cherished the world over. And so I think that these are clearly good opportunities for European business to grow.
But of course there are challenges ahead. How do you manage firms that are working a global supply chain, that are selling products in China, in Brazil, in the US, in Europe?
The luxury goods industry has met with the favor of investors in the past few years. It has produced quite a significant amount of performance. As we move forward, I think investors are becoming more concerned about austerity, about the possibility of a recession in developed markets. Investors are starting to ask themselves questions and are possibly becoming more discerning, and we think rightly so.
The time of the pure absolute luxury is not over, but it's definitely not going to be what is going to take the industry in the next phase of growth. Increasingly, firms will have to have more exposure to the middle class.
The fashion industry nowadays globally is around 6 to 8% of the global economy. The industry itself is still big. Europe is an important player, but also fashion itself is spreading. So that's where I think Europeans can have a nice card, can play the card of fashion beyond fashion. So if you understand fashion nowadays, if you're a fashion designer, you can even work for high-tech companies. You can show these companies how to be creative, how to use design, how to use styles to be more competitive on the market.
One thing I learned when I went to business school was that you have to make a business plan, and you have to look at the market, and then you have to focus on the market, and this is what we want to do. We worked the total opposite way. We tried to make an amazing product that we're really proud of ourselves, and then we try to sell and market that product.
The main challenge for managers on the business side in the fashion industry is how to deal with creative people. The product is what is going to convince customers to buy or not. And then these products are created by creative directors with creative teams, but they need good managers.
It's very difficult to be creative if you cannot pay your bills. We have worked very closely the business side with the creative side. If we cannot sell what we're doing, we have to be dependent on the banks or on investors, and you're not free.
And history shows that the most successful fashion stories, this is when you have a team of a creative person and a good manager.
When we do an amazing product, it's much easier to sell it. But the core of everything we do is the product and sales.